This is Diaspora Digital Media. I am Lydia Oduada. It's DDM Updates. Bayo Onanuga is a militant and arrogant. Tinubu should rein him in. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has allowed his special advisor on communications and strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, to deploy verbal militancy and saber-rattling to attack citizens with divergent position to that of Tinubu's government. Nigerians demand that the president should rein in Mr. Bayo Onanuga before he does irreparable damage to the constitutional democratic freedoms. Bayo Onanuga is acting as communications militant and not just an attack dog of President Tinubu's government. Mr. Onanuga on Sunday issued threats against the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress when he arrogantly warned the Nigerian Labour Congress not to embark on its two-day nationwide protest against the rising cost of living in the country. Also, the police warned against disruption of commercial activities during the protest, which coincided with the warning made by Bayo Onanuga, which established a working partnership between the president's communication strategies and armed security forces. It wasn't therefore altogether strange when suspected armed hoodlums were allegedly, hurriedly brought into the Federal Capital Territory to infiltrate the NLC protest and disrupt peace, law, and order. Were it not that the NLC got actionable intelligence and averted what would have been bloody, the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, and the police handed down the warnings and described the planned peaceful protest by NLC as a breach of the law and an illegal undertaking. Bayo Onanuga said the Attorney General has written the NLC's lawyer that the protest is illegal, so they are breaching a court order if they want to go on with a protest. We are not aware of any plans to disrupt the protest, but what we can confirm is that they, NLC, are breaching an extant rule by a competent court that they should not go on protest. The protest itself is illegal, so the NLC should bear that in mind, Bayo Onanuga concluded just a day before the first day of protest. It is, however, regrettable that the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, thereafter said the two-day nationwide protest over hunger and economic hardship was suspended due to alleged threats on the leadership of the Congress. Mr. Joe Ajere, NLC president, said this at a news conference on Wednesday in Abuja.
It is important that members of the public be aware of the grievous threats against the leadership of the NLC, aimed at intimidating and harassing us into abandoning our choice of democratic expression through the nationwide protest. We were threatened with all manners of consequences that would be meted out to us if we went ahead with the protest. We were, however, not deterred.
The NLC president narrated that during the Tuesday rally in Abuja, they received a hard evidence of the importation of agents provocators. The NLC president said the provocators were mobilized to the protest routes and grounds to cause violence and unleash mayhem against peacefully assembled and protesting Nigerians. The NLC president also said, God is, however, always a step ahead of the enemies of workers and Nigerian people. That was also one of the reasons we have to restructure the second day of the nationwide protest. As we address this briefing, all the major routes to our headquarters here in Abuja have become militarized, he said. Ajero said that this level of intimidation was designed to suffocate and muzzle the voices of the citizens so that we can consider the civic space to retrogressive forces of the society. In view of the NLC allegations of threats from agents of the President Tinubu's government, Nigerians demand that the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, should be investigated over the serious threats that compelled the NLC to suspend the second day of mass protest against economic hardship in Nigeria. It is clear that the evidence-based threats against the NLC were made jointly by the President Tinubu's Information and Communication Strategist, Bayo Onanuga, and the police. And so, it is inevitable that these two persons, Onanuga and the police, should be held accountable for using unlawful intimidation and threats to frustrate the free exercise of the constitutionally guaranteed fundamental rights by the labor activists. Nigerians agree with a human rights group, Huriwa, which concluded thus: "We view this increasingly verbal militancy by Mr. Onanuga and the alleged procurement of armed Lagos hoodlums to physically attack protesters as very dangerous threats against constitutional democracy. The President must call these persons to order before their actions will precipitate a mass revolution in Nigeria, because if government officials are suspected of employing unlawful means to stop citizens from protesting peacefully against economic hardship, it is therefore inevitable that government is sending open invitation to anarchy and lawlessness on the part of the oppressed. Why? Because he who stops peaceful change is calling for violent revolution. The earlier the better that Onanuga's unguarded verbal militancy and saber rattling are checked.